So I took myself for an artist date the other day. When I decided to go to the beach that morning, I didn't know that was what it was called. It's a concept that someone named Julia Cameron talks about in her book, The Artist's Way. She describes it as more mischief than mastery. Instead of doing my usual sketch, I decided to do a blind contour drawing. And despite what it looks like, a blind contour drawing doesn't mean that it's invisible. It means that you don't look at your paper or the drawing that you're making while you're doing it. You focus on the thing that you're drawing. However, as it turned out, I probably should have checked that my marker was actually working before I stopped looking at my paper. So when I switched to a working marker and checked this time, things went a lot better. You can actually see what I'm drawing. So I'm focusing on the tree line across the inlet from where I'm sitting, and I'm carefully observing the edges of the trees and the shape they make against the sky. And I'm following that outline with my eyes, and I'm letting my hand and follow the shapes that my eyes are seeing. But I'm not looking at my paper, so I don't know where those marks are going. But I can tell where the edges of the paper are. When I get to the edge of the paper, I turn around and go in the other direction. And I don't know what this looks like, so it might be looking like a whole bunch of spaghetti while I'm drawing it. And I won't know what it looks like until I get to the end and look down at my paper. This beach area used to be a lumber mill back in the 1800s, so there are all kinds of odd things that I see in the water. Things. So now that when I've looked back down at my paper, I'm going to now sort of continue my drawing, looking at it this time. I added in the shoreline across the water, and now I'm adding in some of the trees that are closer to the shore. And oh, look, I noticed there's a little boat over there, so I'm going to add that in as well. And I'm filling in some of the shapes and trying to make sense of some of the spaghetti-like lines that I have on my page. Time to switch to another tool, and I'm going to use a kid's crayon. It's called a twistable. It's like a wax crayon, but it's in a plastic casing. And this particular one has 4 colors sort of all mixed together. I think it's a rust, blue, green, and red. Those are good colors for this beach scene, and I'm going over some of my lines and emphasizing some of the lines there, and kind of de-emphasizing some of the others. Now I've switched to a white acrylic paint pen to again sort of de-emphasize some of the lines that I'm not using. My next tool is going to be my water brush with my next tool is a blue twistable crayon. Now this one is just blue. And I'm filling in the sky and some marks in the water. And now I've switched to a green one, again in the water. Now I'm going to switch to a kind of a sandy color one to put in some marks of the sand. I am at the beach after all. And then the fun thing about these crayons is they're really waxy. So if I paint over top with water, which is the next thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to use my watercolors. The waxy crayon marks will resist the water and create what I think is a really interesting effect. It's one of my favorite things to use watercolor over top of crayons or pastels. And I'm using them with a water brush. A water brush has water in the handle. And here's the finished piece. I'm really happy with the way that it looks, and I see more of these artist dates in my future.